Live, local, in-depth. KIRO 7 at 7 starts now.
A police officer convicted of murder.
Find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021.
Derek Chauvin found guilty of killing George Floyd.
Today, we are able to breathe again.
The verdict reverberating through the streets of Philadelphia and around the world.
When that verdict came down, I feel like justice was served.
I think this is justice. It's a first step, though.
KIRO 7 brings you team coverage of the guilty verdict in the Chauvin trial.
Guilty on all counts. That is the verdict in a trial watched around the world. And good evening. I'm Dave Wagner.
And I'm Lindsay Shelton. The jury in Minneapolis convicted Derek Chauvin for the death of George Floyd just before 2 this afternoon.
We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty.
The former Minneapolis police officer was convicted of murdering Floyd after kneeling on his neck for more than 9 minutes last May. The incident sparked worldwide protests.
Today, we are able to breathe again because justice for George means freedom for all.
Honestly, I think it's just one victory. I think the battle is going to be much longer.
It's about time that police are held accountable for what they do.
Chauvin's bail was revoked. He was led away in handcuffs. He will be sentenced in June. Our local team coverage begins with KIRO 7's Dee Sun, who is live in the Capitol Hill neighborhood.
And that's where many of the protests against police brutality reached a boiling point last summer. Dee, a very different scene there tonight.
And many people in this neighborhood tell me they are feeling relief. It's a feeling that is shared by people across the country. But signs of those protests are still very evident. You can see buildings are still covered with graffiti. And follow me across the street to the East Precinct. You can see that building is still covered in or surrounded by concrete barricades and that fence as well. But people say Chauvin getting convicted of murder, it feels like a turning point. Many of the protesters this past year have demanded police accountability and an end to police brutality. I caught up with some who were out here protesting last summer. They said watching Derek Chauvin's trial was nerve-wracking, but people believe this last year of social unrest helped bring the guilty verdicts today. Others point out there is much more work to be done.
I'm actually kind of glad that he got charged for every single one.
Down at Westlake, up here, Capitol Hill, Chop Zone. Yep. Been pretty much a part of it all from the beginning.
So I feel like now there's going to be a lot more accountability.
Just that one doesn't count. You got to get the rest of them out. That's the challenge.
The Seattle Police Department says it's made multiple changes since the death of George Floyd, including introducing new methods of de-escalation. SPD also says it requires implicit bias training and also requires training to empower officers to intervene and step up and stop a fellow officer if they see that officer doing something wrong. Live in Seattle, Dee Sun, KIRO 7 News.
Thanks, Dee Dee.